I was thinking about how much weight a single word can carry. We tend to think of vocabulary as, I don't know, just lists of things to memorize.
Right, for a test or something.
Exactly. But in the real world, the difference between two words that seem similar can mean everything. It can be the difference between keeping your job and losing it.
Oh, it really can. Precision is everything. I mean, there's a huge difference between saying a company is having a bad year and saying it's beleaguered.
Yeah, one sounds like a temporary dip.
And the other sounds like a fortress under siege.
That's it. And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We've got a set of sources here that, on the surface, just looks like a standard vocabulary list. It's got definitions, examples, the whole 9 yards.
But when you actually read through them, these 9 specific words, they're not random at all.
No, they tell a story, don't they?
They really do. When you lay them out, they paint a picture of workplace dynamics, of mounting pressure, and then eventually some pretty high-stakes consequences.
It's like the script for a corporate thriller, honestly. We've got slackers, we've got people trying to get ahead, we have full-blown scandals. So our mission for this deep dive is to take these 9 words and see what they tell us about, I guess, human nature and professional survival.
I love that. We're going from the water cooler all the way to the courtroom.
Let's do it. So the first cluster of words in our source material really gets into the office environment. I kind of think of this theme as the friction of working with other people.
A truly universal experience.
And it starts with a phrase that I think we've all felt, even if we haven't said it out loud: blow off.
Blow off. Okay, so the source defines this very specifically. It's not just canceling plans. The definition is to ignore, neglect, or skip something or someone.
There's a real attitude baked into that definition, isn't there? It just feels so dismissive.
It is dismissive. I mean, if you have to reschedule a meeting because of an emergency, you're not blowing it off. To blow something off implies a choice.
Right.
You're actively deciding that this thing or this person doesn't matter to you right now.
And the example sentence from the source is just, it is the perfect example of this attitude. It says, he blew off work to go to the beach.
It's so direct.
It's so bold. I mean, he didn't call in sick. He didn't have a flat tire. He blew off work.
For the beach.
For the beach. It suggests zero concern for the consequences.
Exactly. And I think that's why the phrase blow off stings so much when it's used in, personal relationships. It's not just that the person didn't show up. It's that they chose their own leisure over their commitment to you.
But here's the thing about a workplace. It's a system, right? So if our friend here is at the beach, that work doesn't just disappear.
No, it lands on someone else's desk. Which brings us right to our second term, pick up the slack.
I feel like these two phrases are basically married. You can't really have one without the other.
They're a cause and effect pair. The definition given here is to do an extra amount of work that someone else is unable or unwilling to do.
And unwilling is the key word for our beachgoer.
Exactly. The source gives a kind of polite example first. She's on vacation, so I'm picking up the slack. That's normal. That's just being a good teammate.
Sure.
But then you get to the word bank section, the little quiz part of the source, and the picture it paints is a bit grimmer.
It really is. What does it say?
Well, the scenario there describes a manager who has to pick up the slack when employees don't do their jobs correctly.
Ouch. That is a whole different vibe. That's not helping out a friend. That's cleaning up a mess.
And that's where that friction comes in. Slack is literally a loose rope. If we're all supposed to be pulling a heavy load and you let your rope go slack, if you blow it off, I'm the one who feels that extra weight.
And I have to pick up your slack just to keep us from failing.
And that builds resentment. So in our little office drama, we have the guy at the beach and the frustrated manager picking up the slack. But then there's a third character type revealed in these sources.
The strategist.
Yes, the one who is trying to curry favor.
This is such a great phrase. The definition is to seek to gain favor by flattery or attention.
It's the professional suck-up. But there's a real nuance of manipulation there. It's not just being nice. It's being nice with a clear agenda.
And the example is, the new employee tries to curry favor with the CEO, which, that's a bold move for a new hire.
It is. But look at the context from the quiz section again. This is where it gets really psychologically interesting. The sentence is, I decided to curry favor with my boss, although I didn't like his opinion.
That is the smoking gun right there, although I didn't like his opinion.
It's all about the insincerity. You're nodding, you're smiling, you're agreeing, but inside, you think he's wrong. You're trading your integrity for a little bit of social capital.
It's purely transactional. You're not building a relationship. You're buying, I don't know, insurance.
You are. And just think about the toxicity that creates. You've got one person at the beach, one person overworked, and one person faking agreement just to get by.
It sounds like a powder keg waiting to go off.
And that leads us perfectly into the second theme I saw in this material. We're moving from like personal annoyance to actual pressure and visibility.
Right. The stakes are getting higher. And the first word in this next section is conspicuous.
The definition is easy to notice, standing out.
Now, usually, in this age of social media, we think being seen is a good thing. We want to stand out. But in the context of these sources, being conspicuous feels a little dangerous.
It does. The examples they give are purely physical. Her blonde hair made her conspicuous in the crowd, and Mary's red hair always made her conspicuous at school.
It's about standing out when maybe all you want to do is blend in.
Exactly. If you're the person trying to sneak out to go to the beach, the last thing you want to be is conspicuous. You want to be invisible. Conspicuous implies you have no cover, you're exposed.
And if you are working in a company that's in trouble, being conspicuous is the last thing you want. You don't want to be the nail that sticks out.
Especially when that company is described by our very next word, beleaguered.
This is one of my favorite words on the list just because of how heavy it sounds. Beleaguered.
It has a real weight to it, doesn't it? The definition is in a very difficult situation or struggling, but it's so much more than just having a rough patch.
Yeah, the example from the sources, the beleaguered airline is struggling to stay afloat.
Think about that imagery. Beleaguered evokes a siege. It's not that the airline has one problem. It implies they are surrounded.
Right.
High fuel prices, strikes, angry customers, bad weather. They're taking fire from all sides.
So if you're an employee at this beleaguered airline, maybe you're the manager who was picking up the slack earlier. What is your life like now?
You are just living in a state of constant anxious anticipation.
Yeah.
You are bracing for the worst.
That's our next term, brace for, to prepare oneself for something unpleasant or difficult.
And notice the negative connotation there. You don't brace for a surprise party. You don't brace for a bonus.
You brace for impact.
Exactly. The source gives two contexts. One is physical, bracing for a big chill tonight. But the corporate example is so much more stressful. The employees had been bracing for widespread layoffs for several weeks.
Several weeks. That part really sticks out to me.
It's the duration of the stress. Could you imagine going into work every single day for weeks, just bracing for the news that you've lost your job? It's a chronic state of tension.
It would paralyze the workplace. I mean, how can you get anything done? How can you pick up the slack when you're just bracing for the end?
You can't. The whole organization is beleaguered, the people are bracing, and anyone who is conspicuous is probably terrified they'll be the first to go.
This story is getting pretty intense. We've gone from a guy skipping work to a company on the brink of total collapse.
And now we hit a climax. The third theme. This is where the money, the power, and the law get involved.
We have to talk about where the money comes from. The word is bankroll.
Bankroll, to provide financial support for something.
The source example is a bit more personal here. His parents bankrolled his education.
It seems innocent enough in that context.
Yeah.
But bankroll is a very powerful verb. It implies enablement. If you bankroll something, you are the engine making it run.
In a corporate scandal, you always want to know who bankrolled the whole operation. It shifts the focus. The person doing the bad thing is one piece of it, but the person bankrolling it, they're the foundation.
And often, the person bankrolling an operation is looking for something in return. They want validation. They want our next word, endorsement.
Definition: publicly supporting or approving something or someone.
And the source gives a political context. The election victory is a clear endorsement of their policies.
Okay, I want to pause here and contrast endorsement with curry favor. They both involve support, right? So what's the difference?
That is such a crucial distinction. Currying favor is private. It's the employee whispering to the boss, "Oh, great idea, just to stay safe." It flows upward from the powerless to the powerful.
And endorsement.
Endorsement is public. It flows downward or outward. It's a stamp of legitimacy. When a newspaper endorses a candidate or a celebrity endorses a product, they are staking their own reputation on it.
So, in our story, maybe this beleaguered airline was desperate for endorsement. They needed investors to bankroll them, so they needed a public figure to say, hey, this company is solid.
They needed to project confidence. But if that confidence is built on lies, If the manager is just picking up the slack for a system that's fundamentally broken, well, eventually the truth comes out.
And that brings us to the final and definitely the most dramatic word on our list, implicate.
This is the point of no return, the definition: to connect or involve incriminatingly, to show involvement in a crime.
It's not just being involved, it's being incriminated.
Correct. You can be involved in a failed project without being implicated in fraud. Implicate means there is evidence tying you directly to the wrongdoing.
The source examples here are straight out of a news report. Senior officials were implicated in the scandal, and the one from the word bank. The leaked emails implicated the CEO in the fraud.
It's always the leaked emails, isn't it?
Always. But notice how definitive that is. The emails didn't just suggest he was a bad manager. They implicated him. They entangled him in the crime itself.
And that's the tragedy of this whole vocabulary list. We started with blow-off, a seemingly minor act of negligence.
Yeah.
And we ended with implicator, a career-ending legal disaster.
It really is a narrative arc. I want to try something just to bring this all home for you listening. Let's try to put all 9 of these words into one story based on the definitions we've just gone over.
I like it. Let's connect the dots.
Okay, so picture this. We have a company that is beleaguered. It's struggling.
Right. Sales are down. The market's tough. So a wealthy investor steps in to bankroll a new, very risky strategy to save it.
But the strategy requires everyone to work double time. And most people are. But one senior executive decides to blow off his responsibilities. He's never in the office.
Which forces his poor team to pick up the slack. They're overworked. They're frustrated.
And in the middle of all this chaos, you have this junior employee who's very conspicuous. Maybe they're just naturally loud or they stand out. And they decide the only way to survive is to curry favor with that lazy executive.
So they're agreeing with his terrible ideas, even though they know better. They're just hoping for an endorsement, some kind of protection from him.
Meanwhile, the rest of the staff is just bracing for layoffs. They can see the writing on the wall.
And then the leaks happen. The truth comes out about that risky strategy.
And the final investigation doesn't just blame the company as a whole. They find the evidence. The emails implicate that executive and maybe even the investor who bankrolled him in serious fraud.
It's a perfect storm. And it shows that these words aren't just, random vocabulary. They're the building blocks of a crisis.
It really highlights why specific language matters so much. If you're reading the news and you see the word implicate, you know something very different is happening than if you just see the word accuse.
Exactly. Accuse is a claim. Implicate points to evidence. It points to a real connection.
And if you hear a company is beleaguered, you know it's not just a bad quarter. It's a systemic, deep struggle.
It helps you read the world with more resolution. It's like putting on a pair of glasses. Suddenly, you see all the dynamics more clearly. You see who is blowing off work. You see who is bracing for impact.
It's like a diagnostic tool. And honestly, it works for our own lives too. We talked a lot about the corporate thriller, but these dynamics happen on a smaller scale every day.
Oh, they do. In your family, in your friend group. Who is picking up the slack for planning the family reunion?
Yeah.
Who blew off dinner?
And that leads me to one final thought I wanted to run by you. We talked about currying a favor, that act of fake agreement. And we talked about being implicated.
The beginning and the end of the slide, so to speak.
Right. Is there a connection there? I mean, think about that poor employee from the quiz example who decided to curry favor with the boss, although I didn't like his opinion.
I see where you're going with this.
If you spend your whole career currying favor, if you just keep nodding along with a boss who's cutting corners or a leader who is unethical, are you setting yourself up?
It's a very slippery slope. If you curry favor with someone who is eventually implicated, you might find yourself standing a little too close to the blast zone.
Exactly. At what point does just going along to get along turn into complicity?
That is a sobering thought. It suggests that these words and the actions behind them have a kind of moral trajectory. Currying favor seems harmless in the moment, but it aligns you with the wrong people.
Something to think about the next time you're tempted to just nod and smile when you really, really disagree.
Indeed. Sometimes being conspicuous with your objection is a lot better than being implicated later on.
I love that. Better to be conspicuous now than implicated later. That's a great rule of thumb.
I think so.
Well, this has been a fascinating journey through just 9 words. I'll definitely be looking at the headlines and my own inbox a little differently this week.
Me too. And I'll try not to blow off any important emails.
And I'll try not to make anyone else kick up the slack. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.